So we got a very quick and cute little Easter project for you today. It's our Mr. Bunny basket, and it's very simple. It's going to go together real quick. Let's hop right into it. So we've got the two main sections of our little basket here. They're pretty much, actually they are identical, so it doesn't matter which one you use for what. As always, I like to kind of work flat, so we're going to do that. And one thing you'll notice, we're going to put these panels on first. Some of them have this little cutout. You can see the little cutout there. And, well, two of them have a cutout, two of them don't. Okay, the one with the cutout is going to be the one that we're going to attach to or glue to the side. This is the front, this is the back, or vice versa. Front, back, doesn't matter, side, side. So the ones with the sides have this little cutout. So you know what, let's just get these in place while we have everything nice and flat. And we'll just kind of do things in sections until we have the whole project complete. So this is going to go right onto the side here. You want to make sure that you get it nice and centered and do your best to kind of create a nice even border all the way around the perimeter here. You can see how there's a little bit of white around here, okay? And then of course, we want the solid piece in front and back. And you'll also notice that there are some little markers here to help you with the positioning of this so that we can keep everything nice and consistent all the way around on all sides of our little basket. So if you follow those guides, you should automatically pretty much have that little border that I was speaking of just a moment ago. There we go. And as you can see here, this is a DCWV print, a really cute little print. I did kind of grunge it up a little bit with some ink, as well as around the ears here. Okay, so if you do want to ink, that is where you want to place your ink. Okay, so I'm going to put this one here with the cutout on the other piece, the other half of the main structure on the side. Okay, like so. And again, use those little markers to help you with the positioning. Beautiful. And then we're going to put this one on the front or the back, whichever it ends up being. It's the same on both sides, so it doesn't really matter if it's the front or back as far as what we're calling it. Okay. Again, just using those little markers, very handy, takes the guesswork out of everything and ensures that you're nice and consistent throughout. And this is actually Potter's Clay by Memento, this color that I inked around the edges. Okay, now the two sides, in our case, have a little pink heart, and there's also a little V-shaped marker right above those little cutouts on the side. So you're going to use that to help you place your heart in the correct location. Now also just make sure that the point of the heart kind of points at this little cutout here in the center, so everything looks nice and symmetrical. Okay, we'll do the same thing with the other one. And I think we can, at this point, put together the structure. It's not that difficult. And then we can put together the pieces for our little bunny. Now I actually, since it's the same on both sides, I already did one. I'll show you how cute he looks. See how cute that is with a nice little matching bow, a nice little hat. Okay, so we'll put one of them together. I wasn't going to do it twice because it is redundant. You can always rewind if necessary to see me do it again. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this together. It doesn't matter if you do it this way. It doesn't matter which one. They're both the same, so it doesn't matter. Okay, but let's get our glue on this tab here and then work a nice little thin line out to the edge. Now we went with a white color, or just white for the actual structure, which frees us up to make mistakes with glue. but we're not going to do that. We're still going to be very precise with everything. So just line that up next to the other piece, press down, and then you can take it and fold it over onto that little seam that we just connected the two sections at. And then these tabs should pretty much be sitting right on top of each other perfectly. That is a good indicator that you did a good job with the alignment on the seam here. Okay, so now it's all one piece, and what we're going to do is just close it up. We're going to close it up by connecting this tab to the other end there. So get your glue on this tab, work a little bit out, a nice thin line out to the edge, and then if you want, either with your finger or a scrap piece of paper, whatever tool you want to use, it is helpful. It's not required, but I always do it. I always spread that glue out to the very edges, just so that everything looks nice and seamless. Okay, there we go. Can fold that and push that down flat. This should lay flat. Okay, there we go. And now we have our little basket. Okay, so let's do this. At this point, let's put the bottom on, and we're going to grab our little squares here. You'll notice that on one of these, there is a little L. L for Lima or Leo. Okay, that's our liner that's going inside. So we need the one that does not have the L on it. And I'm going to start on what I'll consider the front. Okay, and I'm going to get glue on this tab. We're going to take that square that I have right here. We're going to anchor it just to one tab for now. And this is the front, which is where most of the attention is going to be by your recipient or whoever sees this project. So we're going to do our best to get this part lined up nicely. So just get it nice and centered and kind of butt it right up to the very edge there. Make sure you get it centered, let it kind of grab a hold. It's really tacky, so it should grab it, and just kind of run your finger along the edge there. And then what you can do is flip it upside down, or over I should say, and you can push down from the inside to get that to really hold on the rest of those sections. Okay, now since he's got these ears here, we can't work on it like this. So we're going to close this up, just working on it from the side like this. So let's get our glue on the remaining tabs, a nice thin line up to the edge. And we should be able to rotate it like this without it actually hitting the table. The glue, without the glue hitting the table. That tab is folded down, so it's not making any contact with my surface, which works out nicely. Okay, so a nice thin line right up to the edge. And then just like we did the first few times, take that glue and spread it all the way out to the very edge there. And see, I have some excess glue from the previous time that from the previous tab, I should say. So in case you didn't get enough on the second or third one, you probably have a little extra on your finger still that you can use to fully coat that tab. Okay, so now we're going to take the part that's already anchored and flip or push it down or bring it over, and you want to focus on getting it aligned with the side opposite of the side that's already anchored. Make sure that that's making good contact, make sure that's centered, then you can rotate it and push down there, and then go to this side, push down there, hopefully it's still tacky, and then you can flip it up, right side up, and push from the inside to make sure that the rest of that tab is making good contact. And we'll do a little once over here, take a look and make sure that everything looks nice and flush and seamless. That looks good. Got one little area here. Maybe it's still, no, it's not. We're gonna have to fix that. Grab a scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue right on the tip of that, and just shove it in between these two pieces that are not really getting along. And we'll just kind of force them to get along. There we go. And just press and hold that for a few extra seconds. And there we go. Okay, now with this piece, with the little square that has our L on it, I'm going to throw a little bit of glue right on the inside like so. And I'm just going to drop that in. It's going to hide the tabs nicely. and reinforce it, make it a little bit stronger. Just run your finger around the perimeter, make sure it's making good contact, and there we go. Okay, so just a few things left here. What we can do real quick is, if you have a dowel, you want something that has a little bit of a thickness to it. I think this is a 1/4 inch, maybe this is 3/8. Either way, we do want to slightly, ever so slightly, just train these ears so that they're kind of going back a little bit, just a tiny bit. Don't overdo it, okay? Because ultimately, this is going to kind of curve back because we're going to attach these sections together and they are going to be a little bit curved. That's fine, okay? You know what we could do at this point, we can put our little ears on, why not? Okay, so the ears are going to go like this. You got a pointy section here, and then you've got a round section. The round section is going to go up to the top. Okay, and you'll notice that there are some markers here to help you with the positioning. There's a tiny little dot here, or actually, it's almost like a tiny U. That's where the tip of this goes in. And then there's a marker here to help you with the positioning there. This part of the ear is going to hug that little marker, and then you can see how that should be nice and centered there. Okay, and it may also help to train this slightly. Give it a little bit of a curve, not too much, just a tiny bit. And let's glue this on. And I'm doing this now to just give this enough time to really set before we connect everything. And for this, you want to make sure that you get enough glue up at the top and the bottom, because I think that's where you're going to get the most resistance, I guess we can call it. So align that with that little marker on the bottom, and then that little marker there, and then just visually check it out and make sure that it looks nice and centered. And if it isn't, just give it a little nudge, either left or right, and make sure you got it in place. And you can see how this piece is hugging this piece because we kind of, well, we trained it. And now we're going to do this one here. So don't forget to train just the tip of this a little bit, just slightly, very slight. And let's throw some glue on here again. Make sure you get that glue up to that tip, just so that that doesn't come pulling apart, because I noticed that in our prototype, we got that little section kind of coming apart. Okay, so again, there's a little marker there. Line up that little tip with that marker. Then we've got a marker there for this section here. Visually, just kind of inspect it, make sure that it looks centered. And right here, right at the top where we have that curve, just give that an extra press or two, just to make sure that it is sit and put. Okay, there you go. And this is gonna dry for a few minutes while we actually work on making our bunny. But we've got another side that we've got to put together, so don't forget to kind of train it a little bit. And it's been really windy. We've got some lights flickering here. I had some electrical issues yesterday. I thought my cameras were broken. It's the spring trying to force its way in. And it's, winter's not having it. Okay, so again, line it up with that little marker there first. And mark it with that marker there. And visually make sure it's nice and centered. Press down. Again, especially up at the tip. Make sure it's making good contact and that you have glue all the way out to the very edge of that. Just like that. There we go. Last one. Then we can do the little paper piecing for our bunny, who's very, very easy to put together actually. It'll be enjoyable. Usually I kind of work the other way around. I do like the paper piecing stuff first, but I was feeling a little crazy today. Okay, last one here. Same thing. I've already done this 3 times, so should be pros at this point. Line it up with that marker, line it up with that marker, make sure it is centered, just like that, and press down, especially up here at the tip. Make sure that's making good contact. There we go. Okay, so we're going to put this off to the side, and we're going to let this set. And actually, you know what? let's just connect these up here. You'll notice that there are little tabs up here. You can fold these. And what we're going to do is just connect these like so. Just put one on top of the other and add a little glue. So I'm putting glue on this one. It doesn't matter which one you select. You can do it on either one. And then take the other one, pop it right on top of it. Just match it up with the little square there and press that together. Make sure you hold that in place for just a few moments while it sets, because it tends to want to kind of rotate a little bit. So just make sure it's straight on. That looks good. And just press and hold that for a sec. That looks good. I'll do the same thing on the other side here. And I glued this one on top of this one. So just try to be consistent with that if you can. I don't think it's the end of the world if they get flip-flopped. And just pop that one right on top of that one. So essentially what we're doing is just gluing these two little squares together on top of each other, one on top of another. There we go. Okay, so that kind of completes the connection for our basket and makes it all one solid piece there. Okay. All right, so container's done. Now all that's left to do, let me put that off to the side, and I'll show you what I did with this bunny. Okay, so you're going to want to assemble this part of the bunny separately, the hat separately, and then his little bow tie. Okay, so I'll show you how I did all this. I'm going to start off with this large white piece and this brown piece here. And I did ink the brown in these areas here where you can see the inking. You don't really need to ink down here. That's all going to be covered up. You don't need to ink up here because that's going to be covered up. So just this little area here where you see his little fuzzy stuff and kind of down to his nose, but that should be plenty. So we're going to start off by gluing this piece to the white piece. Okay, go easy on the glue, but definitely try to get it out to the little nooks and crannies here on his little fuzzy cheeks. Down here, a little more fuzz on the cheeks, and then down to his nose, the hat, around the perimeter, and then a little bit in there. And it should be pretty straightforward. We're just going to kind of match up all the various sections here. The hat, the little fur on his cheeks, the top, the bottom. That should all gel nicely. Okay. And next we're going to put this black piece on right here. Okay, so very simple. Get your glue going all the way out to the edges, around the perimeter there, a little bit on the inside, and then a little bit there. And we're just going to match these up with this, and then of course the top, and then we've got the little white cutout there. That's also a good little visual cue as to where to position this. There we go. Okay. Now we just need to put his little facial features together. I'm going to start with his eyes. So you've got two pieces like this. He's kind of looking over to the right, I guess. So just make sure you have it right side up. And we do have two little indicators there to help you with the positioning of the eyeballs. So just make sure you use those. We want to make sure that Mr. Bunny is nice and symmetrical. And then visually you want to make sure that the alignment is spot on as well. That looks good. We'll grab the other one. There's only a couple pieces for his eyes, two of which are kind of small, but that's where you may want to break out your pick-me-up tool if you have one. There we go. Okay, there's this other eye, and then you've got these two, in my case, little turquoise or blue-green pieces, and those are, actually you can see some markers there on the black part of his eye as to where those go. So I'll show you where those go here in a second. Let me just get some glue on this. A very tiny little piece, and I'm going to grab my pick-me-up tool next time I do this. Let me get that excess glue off of there. Okay, there are some markers there to help you with the positioning of this. So use those. There we go. Where are you? There you are. There's my little pick-me-up tool. A lot easier to work with this. Can be a little more precise. There we go. And that one's going to go right there in between those markers. Press that down into place, just like that, okay? So his eyes are in place. Let's take a look at his mouth. We do have some little markers for his mouth. So the little outside parts here, let me see if you can see that, there you go. These little parts there that look like little flower stamens, those are gonna go right into those little markers there. So that's a good little indicator to help you make sure that, again, we keep Mr. Bunny nice and symmetrical, nice and cute. So I'm going to pop these, almost looks like a little hammer on the end of this. That's going to go right into those little markers. There we have it, just like that. And then what we did on the other side actually was pop dotted his nose to give his nose a little dimension. So I'm going to do the same thing for the sake of continuity and consistency. Just throw a little pop dot or foam square and pop his nose right on there. You can glue it flat if you want, not a big deal. And there's Mr. Bunny. Okay, and the reason that his hat is separate is because we're going to actually pop dot that. So we need these two parts of the hat, and then there's a little flower element that we're going to glue to that as well. So this is the little band that's going to go around his hat. So get some glue on that, and the way this goes on is it goes on where it's right side up when it kind of dips, not when it goes like this. So it's kind of like a valley instead of a mountain, and that is the correct way to glue that on. You want to just line that up with where kind of the brim meets the top part of the hat. Same with this over here, so it should just kind of flow, be nice and continuous. Okay, and there's our hat. Let's get our little flower together here. I'm going to find a nice thin dowel. And there's two sets of petals, and then this little greenery thing, some little leaves. All I'm going to do is just take my dowel and put the petal in between my finger and the dowel, like so. And I'm just going to curl it, kind of like you're curling your hair. Okay, just curl it up. Just train it a little bit so it's not so flat. You could even kind of twist it between your fingers to lift it up a little more. Same thing with the bottom section. Just give it a slight curl. This one you may want to just curl the very tips so that when we put the other part on there, there's a little bit of space in between both sections. Okay, a little drop of glue in the center, and then take this guy and pop them right in there. You want to offset and stagger the petals so that they're not competing, like that, kind of like that. There we go. And I can use my dowel to push that down in the center so I don't smush the petals down too much. You can always fluff them up later on as well. Okay, but there's our pretty little flower. And then we're going to take this part here, and these are very small, so if you can't do it, don't worry about it, but try to pinch that top little leaf there just to give it a little bit of dimension. Throw a tiny drop of glue right on that little circle at the base of our little leaf element, and then just pop that right in the center onto that circle. Make sure it looks pretty centered. That looks good. We'll throw a little rhinestone or a pearl in the center of this thing once all said and done. Okay, and then I don't think this thing's fully set yet, but we'll try it anyway. Throw a little dot of glue on the back of our little leaves, and then we're going to adhere this to the hat. We want to make sure that we get it over here on the left side of this little band, and make sure that you keep the little leaf section within the confines of the top part of the hat. And then if you want, you can actually, let's see, I need something sharper. You just take this and lift it up a little bit. Just train it back so it's not so flat up against the hat. You could also use a little foam square to add dimension to that if you want. Okay, so that's all done. And we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna zot that or foam square it later. So I'm not worried about it. Now let's put together his bow. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's flat. You wanna take your dowel. I'm using the 3/8 inch, and I'm putting the piece of paper between my finger and the dowel, and I'm just kind of, you can see how I'm angling it like that. So it's not flat, it's angled, and then I just run it through, and it gives it a nice curl. Okay, we want to curl it a little bit because what we're going to do is we're going to kind of pull this over, and you'll notice that, and you don't need to do this, I'm folding it just so you can see it, but there is a little tab here, and then you'll notice that there's a little rectangular section here. What we're going to do is just glue this little rectangle section, keep your glue within the confines of that little tab, and you're going to bring it over and you're going to glue it down into the center rectangle. Just make sure that it's nice and matched up, and you've got the rectangle sitting within the other rectangle, and press and hold that for a few moments while it sets, because there is some resistance here. There's a lot of energy, so to speak, in these fibers here. I'm going to keep them nice and round. And training this piece before doing this helps prevent possibly creating a crease here, which can be a little unsightly. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but this way it's nice and round and looks nice. Okay, so in the meantime, let's get some glue on the other rectangle here. And just like we did the first time, bring it in and lay it right on top of the other rectangle. And just press and hold until it fully sets. Again, be patient with this because there is some energy that's being stored up here, and it may want to try to pop out. So if you have a little clothespin or something that you want to put on here to hold it, that's fine. I use just enough tacky glue to where within 10-15 seconds it should pretty much hold, and we're good to go. Okay, so that looks nice. Now finally, you've got this little strip here, and what you're going to do is just kind of lay it on the front, nice and centered, and you're just literally just going to fold it over on both sides. Just fold it over, fold it to the back. Okay, so these are the two sections that I just folded. I'm going to put one down, throw a little bit of glue on it, just very easy, and fold the other piece on top of it. And just press and hold that together, let that sit. So then that way you end up with this nice little center part of our little bow here. Makes it look nice and finished off. Okay, and I guess this is where the fun part comes in, because all we really need to do now is just adhere the rest of this to the actual structure. Now the bow is going to go on this way. Okay, so you can see that this side's a little bit longer, so it's not going to go like this. It's going to go like this. Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. But let's grab our structure. Looks like the tips of our ears are sitting nicely. And all that's left to do here is we're going to pop dot this on here, and we just want to match it up with the existing little cutouts here. Okay, and that's pretty much it. I think we're pop dotting that. Yep. All right, so we'll flip these over. And we'll just do both of them, why not? Let's get some pop dots here. I think I probably get away with just one up there. I don't need to go too crazy with this. And then we'll just work our way down. So I'm just kind of doing this consistently on each side here. And I'll probably just do, I probably get away with two down here. I'll flip it over and just kind of push down and see if it's kind of sagging too much in any little area, and if it is, I'll add another one, but I think this is plenty. Okay, so that looks good. And we'll peel the backings off of these and start getting Mr. Rabbit in place here. Trying to be neater lately and not create so much of a mess as I'm working. so that I don't have as much to clean up. I don't know if I'll be able to stick with it, but I'll try. I spent 3 days cleaning my studio after I think it was 3 or 4 releases, and it was not fun. I mean, it wasn't too bad, but I could be doing other things. Okay, so let's move this out of the way. And again, you kind of just want to match it up with the existing little shadow areas here. So I'm kind of using the brim of the hat as my initial guide for placement. Okay, that looks good. We'll press down up here and press that down into place everywhere else. Yes, perfect. Okay, there we go. We'll do the other side real quick. Same thing. And I do recommend using some foam squares for this. It's easier since the surface is curved and the dimension is just adds a little extra something to the project that makes it really pop. Okay. All right, so now we do have, obviously we have the hats. We want to flip those over. We're going to add some dimension to them as well. Okay, now don't squish your flower too much, so if you need to, maybe just lift this up a little bit. And I honestly think that 2 little foam squares will probably do the trick. You can add a 3rd one here if you want, but I don't want to use too many of my resources here for something that isn't really going to make a whole heck of a lot of difference. Okay, so let's peel off the backings. I'll just grab this first one, and it's pretty self-explanatory as to where this is going to go. Just want to get it nice and centered. There we go. Just like that. That really makes a huge difference. Okay, and one more. Whoops. I'll get this one in place. Nice and centered. You can use that little teardrop cutout on the hat as another guide to make sure you've got it nice and centered. There we go. That looks great. Okay, and finally, all that's left to do is add his little bow tie. We've got quite the dapper little bunny here. Okay, and we're going to, let's see here, yeah, we'll throw a little foam square on that as well. Give that some dimension. I've got some 1/4" ones here that I'm going to use. And just make sure that, again, the longer side is going to be at the bottom, shorter side at the top. We kind of want it kind of curving up, like U-shaped. Throw a little foam square on the back there. You can glue it down if you want. You don't have to use a foam square. And then I'm going to take that and glue it or apply it to this little area here, this brown area here. But also you want to make sure that when you apply this, that it doesn't go below the actual box itself. Otherwise it won't sit flat. And when you apply this, use the tip of his nose as kind of a guide to make sure that you get it nice and centered. Okay, mine needs to go to the left a little bit. And don't push it down too hard until you know for sure you've got it locked in the right spot. And if you feel like your bow is kind of sticking out too much, you can flatten it out. Just loosen up those fibers in your paper, and there we have it. Okay, so he's looking good there. Just have to do the same thing on the other side now. And we'll call it a day. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this project. If you did, don't forget to head over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. I think we added another 200 or 300 subscribers since the last time I saw you guys. So thank you for that. That lets us know that you enjoy crafting with us. You love our products and everything that we do. What else? Oh, well, of course, while you're there, hit that little bell so that you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free, or some of our educational stuff as well. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, we'd love to see it. So you can head over to our Facebook page. In your Facebook, do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can use this little link here that you'll see at the bottom. You can join myself, and I just looked before I started filming, almost 19,000 dreamers that inspire us daily. So happy Easter, happy almost spring. and I look forward to crafting with you again.